The doorway between the bedroom and the kitchen is exactly 37 inches wide, and this morning they are standing in the middle of it, wearing the shirt you discarded last night, holding a confession in their mouth like a hot stone they cannot swallow and cannot spit out. The light is wrong for a revelation. It is Tuesday light, dentist appointment light, the kind of gray-yellow morning that seeps through curtains you have been meaning to replace, illuminating dust motes that move too slowly to be called dancing. They have not brushed their hair. They have not brushed their teeth. There is a smudge of your lip balm on their collarbone that they keep touching with the pad of their thumb, not to remove it, but to confirm it is still there, that the night was not assembled by their own desperate dreaming. You are at the stove, boiling water for tea you will probably forget to drink, wearing the silence you always wear in the morning, like a robe that actually fits. And they are watching the back of your neck, the particular way your hair meets your spine, the efficiency of your movements, and they are realizing that what they need to say has no precedent in the language they share with other humans. They open their mouth. The stone rolls out. It is not what you expect. It is not, I love you. It is not, last night was amazing. It is not even the dreaded, we need to talk. It is something much worse, much more devastating, much more impossible to fold into the morning routine you have been quietly constructing. They say, or they will say, in a voice that cracks like an egg you did not know was boiled, when you touch me, I forget my name. And I am terrified that one day you will stop and I will remember it. That is the confession. That is the unexpected thing. That is the sentence that hangs in the 37 inches between the bedroom and the kitchen like a humidity you can now never unbreathe. You turn, Virgo, and your face does what it always does when confronted with emotional weather you did not forecast. It becomes very still. Your eyes narrow, not in judgment, but in processing. You are already searching your internal database for the correct response. You are already wondering if this is a compliment or a warning, if you should step forward or back, if the tea kettle is about to scream, and whether you should rescue it first or let it cry out on their behalf. You do not know what to do with a confession that is not a transaction. You do not know what to do with a gift that has no receipt, no return policy, no logical next step. So let me tell you what is actually happening, because you are about to file this moment under awkward morning after, or emotional overshare, or probably the oxytocin talking, and you would be wrong in all three filings. You would be wrong because you fundamentally misunderstand what your body does to them. You misunderstand it because you have spent your entire intimate life treating your own responsiveness as a form of good manners. You have mistaken your spiritual thoroughness for competence. You have confused your devotional attention with technique. And because you have categorized your own lovemaking as attentive or present or considerate, you have no category for what it actually is, which is annihilation. Let me explain. There is a way you have of slowing down that has nothing to do with patience and everything to do with reverence. When you touch them, you do not touch them the way other people have touched them. Other people touched them like they were confirming a reservation, like they were checking items off a list, like they were trying to get from point A to point B with maximum efficiency and minimal emotional spillage. Other people used their body as a vehicle for their own destination. But you, Virgo, you use your hands like a cartographer mapping a country you have decided to live in. You slow down at the border. You note the texture of the terrain. You learn the language before you speak it. You do not rush to the capital city. You visit the villages. You learn the names of the rivers. And by the time you arrive anywhere, you know the landscape so intimately that your arrival feels like a homecoming rather than a conquest. They have never been mapped this way. They have never been studied with such terrifying, gentle precision. And the precision is what breaks them open. You think you are just being thorough. You think you are just paying attention the way you pay attention to everything: grocery lists, work emails, the exact amount of milk left in the carton. You think your attentiveness in bed is an extension of your general competence, your desire to do things well, your refusal to be half-hearted. But what you do not see is that your thoroughness, stripped of its domestic context and applied to the naked architecture of another human being, becomes a form of worship. It becomes religious. It becomes the most devastating intimacy they have ever experienced, because it is the first time they have ever felt that their body was not a tool to be used, but a text to be read. And you, Virgo, you read them slowly, aloud, with your fingers, with your mouth, with your breath, with the particular quality of your silence that says, I am not going anywhere until I understand this chapter. And they feel understood, not just emotionally, cellularly. They feel understood in places they had forgotten they had places. The scar on their left knee from a childhood fall that they mentioned once in passing, and you remembered not with your mind but with your hands, tracing around it, honoring the history of it, not ignoring it and not fetishizing it, but simply acknowledging this is part of the terrain. The way their breath changes when they are close but not quite close enough, and you know the difference. You know the exact frequency of their inhale that means more versus the one that means wait, and you adjust without being asked because you are listening with your skin. The way you look at them, not at their performance, not at their orgasm face, not at the curated version of themselves they usually present to lovers, but at them, the flickering, frightened, actual them, and your gaze does not waver. Your gaze does not get bored. Your gaze does not check the clock or the phone or the mirror. Your gaze stays. And in a world where everyone is always looking for the next thing, your staying is a miracle they do not know how to metabolize. So when they say you are in their teeth, they mean you have entered their nervous system. They mean that your touch has rewritten the code of their body. They mean that making love with you is not an event that ends when the sweat dries. It is an ongoing translation. It is a language they are now dreaming in, waking up with phrases in their mouth they do not know how to pronounce. They are walking around in their ordinary life, standing in line at the pharmacy, sitting in a meeting that drones on about quarterly projections, stirring pasta that has already finished cooking, and suddenly they feel a phantom sensation, your hand on the back of their neck, your breath in the shell of their ear, and their knees actually weaken. Not metaphorically. Actually, the structural integrity of their adult self dissolves for 3 seconds, and they have to grip the counter, the table, the steering wheel, because you have installed yourself in their somatic memory, like a melody that replays without warning. And it scares them. Of course it scares them, because they were not prepared to be undone by thoroughness. They were not prepared to be destroyed by care. They came to you with their armor on. the way they always do, the way everyone does. Because intimacy without armor is how you get hurt, and they have been hurt before. And they have learned to show up with only the parts of themselves that can survive a quick exit. But you do not allow quick exits. Not because you trap them, because you slow time down until the exit sign disappears into the fog of the present moment. You make the present moment so dense, so textured, so completely absorbing that the concept of leaving becomes abstract. Who would leave a cathedral in the middle of the service? Who would walk out on a symphony to check their email? Your hands are the symphony, your mouth is the liturgy. Your patience is the architecture that holds the roof above their head while they finally let go. They have never let go like this before. They did not know they were holding on. They thought their tension was personality. They thought their inability to fully relax during sex was just how their body worked, a mechanical limitation, like a car that could only go up to 60. But with you, the needle buried itself past the red. With you, they found speeds they did not know their engine could handle. And now that they know, now that you have shown them what their body is capable of feeling, they are terrified of the comparison. They are terrified that if you leave, they will spend the rest of their life trying to find this frequency again and failing, because you are not a technique, you are not a trick, you are not a position or a toy or a fantasy. You are a specific soul inhabiting a specific body, bringing a specific quality of attention that cannot be replicated by anyone else on earth. This is what they are trying to tell you in the doorway. This is what the hot stone in their mouth is made of. They are trying to say, "You have ruined my solitude. You have ruined my self-sufficiency. You have shown me that what I thought was sex was actually starvation, and now that I have tasted real nourishment, I am addicted to a table I do not own." And you, Virgo, you are looking at them with your processing face, your "how do I fix this" face, your "did I do something wrong" face, because you have interpreted their terror as a problem to be solved. You have already begun drafting the apology you do not owe, the distancing strategy you think they need, the careful withdrawal that will prove you are not dangerous. Stop. Stop right now. Their terror is not a bug, it is a feature. It is the evidence that the medicine is working. It is the sound of a frozen river beginning to crack because spring has finally arrived. You need to understand what making love with you actually means to them, because your humility keeps distorting your perception. You keep thinking that they could find this elsewhere. You keep thinking that what you offer is just good partnership, good chemistry, good technique. You keep thinking that there are 1,000 other people who could make them feel this way if they just tried hard enough. You are wrong. There are not. There is not even one. Because what you do is not about skill. Skill is learnable. Skill is YouTube tutorials and magazine articles and practice with enthusiastic partners. What you do is about sacrament. You approach their body the way a devotee approaches an altar, not to take but to offer, not to consume but to consecrate. You do not make love like you are hungry. You make love like you are grateful. And that gratitude, that specific emotional frequency of "thank you for letting me be here, thank you for letting me know you, thank you for this exact inch of skin," it dissolves the shame they have carried since the first time someone treated their body like a rental. You return their body to them. You hand it back piece by piece, kiss by kiss, with your fingerprints all over it, saying, "This belongs to you, and it is holy." They did not know their body was holy. They thought it was functional. They thought it was attractive enough or not attractive enough or something to be managed, maintained, displayed, hidden, used, negotiated. They had a utilitarian relationship with their own flesh, and then you touched them, and the utility fell away, and what remained was a body that was suddenly, shockingly, a sight of revelation. They felt their own heartbeat as if for the first time. They felt their own skin as something that could receive pleasure rather than just deliver it. They felt their own breath as a tide that could carry them somewhere instead of just keeping them alive. You did not just make them feel good, you made them feel real. And the confession in the doorway is the sound of that reality overwhelming them. It is the sound of a person who has been living in a small room, suddenly discovering that the wall was a curtain, and behind the curtain is a landscape they did not know existed. And now they are standing at the threshold between the room and the landscape, wearing your shirt, holding their own heart in their hands like a bird that has never learned to fly because it never knew it had wings. They want to tell you that last night was not sex. Last night was a translation of everything they have ever felt and could never say. Last night was you speaking to them in a language that bypassed their defenses entirely. They had constructed these defenses over decades, therapy resistant, logic armored, experience tested defenses, and you did not break them, you dissolved them. You simply made them irrelevant by offering something so true that lying became impossible. When you were inside them, or they were inside you, or you were simply tangled in the dark with no clear boundary between where one body ended and the other began, they felt a truth settle into their bones that their mind has been fighting ever since. The truth that they are not alone. The truth that they are not too much. The truth that their hunger for connection is not a flaw to be managed, but a force to be celebrated. And you celebrated it without words, with your hands, with your patience, with the way you would not let them rush, would not let them perform, would not let them fake their way to the finish line. You held them in the middle of the fire until the fire stopped burning and became warm. That is what they are trying to confess. That the middle of the fire with you is the only peace they have ever known. And they are scared because they know themselves. They know their own history of running. They know that when things get too real, they have a talent for self-sabotage, for picking fights, for finding flaws, for manufacturing a reason to leave before they can be left. They are warning you in this clumsy doorway confession that they are terrified of their own capacity to destroy this. They are telling you that you have given them something so precious that their first instinct is to drop it before it becomes evidence of how clumsy they are. They are telling you that they have never wanted to stay before, and now they want to stay so badly that the wanting itself feels like a weapon pointed at their own heart. You need to know what to do with this confession, because your instinct will be to analyze it. You will want to know when they realized this. You will want to know if this is about you specifically or about their general emotional state. You will want to know if they are confusing intimacy with love, sex with salvation, the present moment with a future promise. You will want to file this under categories you can manage: attachment style, trauma response, Post-coital vulnerability window. You will want to turn their confession into a spreadsheet so that you can feel safe with it. Do not do that. Their confession is not a problem. It is a gift. And gifts, especially the ones wrapped in terror, require a different kind of receiving. They require you to put down the clipboard. They require you to step out of your own analysis and into your body, the same body that just performed this miracle of attention on them, and to let that body respond, not your mind. Your body, the body that knows, without consulting a manual, that when someone stands in a doorway wearing your shirt and shaking with the effort of holding back tears, the correct response is not a question. The correct response is proximity. The correct response is crossing the 37 inches and taking the hot stone out of their mouth and holding it in your own hand until it cools into something you can both carry. You need to understand that making love with you means more to them than you think because you have been measuring it with the wrong instruments. You have been using a ruler to measure the ocean. You have been asking, was it good for you when what they experienced was not a consumer experience to be rated, but a spiritual realignment? They are not evaluating your performance. They are evaluating their own capacity to survive the depth of what you offer. They are wondering if they are strong enough to keep receiving you. They are wondering if they are worthy of a love that does not ask them to perform, that does not grade them, that simply sees them and stays. And the answer to that wonder is not something you can tell them. It is something you can only show them again and again with your hands, with your patience, with your refusal to make them feel foolish for feeling too much. So when they stand in the doorway, let them stand there as long as they need. Let the tea kettle scream and let it scream. Let the morning light shift from gray-yellow to something closer to gold. Let the dust motes settle on your shoulders like ash from a fire that has finally burned down to its true fuel. And when they are ready, when the stone in their mouth has cooled enough to shape into words, do not ask them to explain. Do not ask them to clarify. Do not ask for a 5-year plan or an emotional risk assessment. Just look at them the way you looked at them last night, with your whole attention, with your whole presence, with your whole terrifying, gentle, devotional self, and say the only true thing there is to say. Say, I know. Say, I feel you in my teeth, too. Say, you do not have to remember your name. I know it. I will say it for both of us until you remember how to wear it again. And then take them back to bed. Not to make love again, though you might, but to lie there, skin to skin, and let the confession settle into the mattress like sediment, like memory, like the foundation of a house that is finally being built on solid ground instead of the shifting sand of performance and pretense. Let them hear your heartbeat. Let them match their breath to yours. Let them learn, in the silence that follows the confession, that the door they are standing in is not an exit, it is an entrance, and they have already been let in. You, Virgo, are not just a lover. You are a cartographer of souls. You are a translator of bodies. You are the only one who has ever read their full text instead of skimming the summary. And that thoroughness, that precision, that terrifying devotion to the truth of what is actually happening in the present moment, it is not just rare, it is sacred. And they have recognized it. They have knelt before it without knowing they were kneeling. They have offered you their confession like a prayer, and the prayer is this: do not stop seeing me. Do not stop mapping me. Do not stop returning my body to me with your hands. Because without your attention, I forget I am holy, and with it, I remember everything. Let them remember. Let the morning unfold without urgency. Let the tea grow cold. Let the world outside wait for you, because for once, the world inside is more important. And when they finally fall asleep against your shoulder, still wearing your shirt, still tasting the stone that has finally dissolved into something sweet, let yourself feel what this actually means. It means you are not too much. It means your precision is not a flaw. It means your devotion is not wasted. It means that the way you love, with your whole mind and your whole body and your whole unbearable attention to detail, is exactly the medicine this person has been dying for. And they are not dying anymore. They are breathing. They are here. They are, for the first time in their life, fully arrived in their own skin, and it is your hands that held the door open. Keep holding it, not because they need you to, because you have finally found a place where your thoroughness is not annoying, where your intensity is not too heavy, where your love, in all its exacting, meticulous, devastating specificity, is recognized as the rare and radiant thing it has always been. The doorway is empty now. They have crossed it. They are in your bed, in your arms, in the country you mapped with your patience. The tea kettle has gone quiet. The morning has forgiven itself for being ordinary, and somewhere in the silence, a confession has become a covenant, signed not with words, but with skin, not with promises, but with presence. Rest now. The map is made, the territory is claimed, and the two of you are finally speaking the same language.